Hello and welcome to your zip up activation. We've gone through contraction of the pelvic floor. Now you know how I like to visualize contraction of the pelvic floor and what I found to be extremely effective for my clients postnatally. Count number one, making the number one with your index fingers. You have that visual. Pulling together in this direction, reeling that line in from back to front. Number two, sit bones pulled together. Number three, everything's drying up. 1, 2, everything draws up on count 3. That's your pelvic floor contraction. We've held it. We've focused on improving endurance there. Now we're layering on the entire zip up activation. Why do I emphasize a zip up activation, which goes from the bottom, starting from the pelvic floor all the way to the top, very soon after giving birth? Because we add that emphasis on posture and placement of your ribs and your shoulders and your head makes a huge difference as to whether or not you can get a deep pelvic floor contraction and a relaxation. Not only that, you're going to maximize your breath potential. If you're maximizing your breath potential, you will maximize that pelvic floor mobility and stability, right? So the strength of it and the mobility of it. Now I am adding the Ab-Ribbon in for this one so that I have proprioception as to where my breath is. I like to put it at approximately my natural waistline or right at the base of the ribs. And I know after pregnancy, we're dealing with a lot around here, but even if you can just get the slightest sensation of tightening the ribbon on that inhale and then gently reducing the pressure with the entire circumference of the waist on the exhale, you have accomplished beginning to bring blood flow and healing to this area that's, gone through a lot of challenge over the past 9 months. So here, let's begin with our pelvic floor contraction. The zip up activation always starts with that pelvic floor contraction. Now, basically, now that you've gone through that pelvic floor series, you know that number one is here in this direction. Number two is here. So we've made a plus sign. Number three, you're bringing everything up. In the zip up activation for the first 4 weeks postnatally, we combine the two contractions of the pelvic floor in this direction and in this direction. So ultimately, on count 1, we're bringing all 4 corners together at the same time. So let's just practice that a couple times. And if you can, be seated on a chair and press your posture points back against the wall. So I want you to feel your ribs back, close your eyes, feel your shoulders back, feel your head back. And let's just practice all 4 of those corners of that plus sign that you've begun to work on with the pelvic floor video, pulling together, holding for 2 seconds, and release. And I want you to feel that reduction of pressure between the pelvic floor and your seat. And this is where sitting on a physio ball can be very helpful if you have a hard time feeling it, because you have that dome, that spherical nature of sitting on a ball, even a mini Pilates ball, pushing up into your pelvic floor. So it can be easier to feel that reduction in pressure between the pelvic floor musculature and what you're sitting on. Okay, so close your eyes, press those posture points back. Here we go. Pull all 4 corners together and hold for 2 seconds. Pull together, hold 1, 2, and release. And again, all 4 corners. Pull together, hold 1, 2, and release. Now, let's pull all 4 corners together, and then let's take the elevator up 2 floors. And then hold 2 seconds, just like we did in the last video. So this is a bit of a review, but a worthy review. So let's go. Plus sign pulls together. 1, 2, elevator up, 2, hold 1 and 2, and release. 2, and again, make sure you're not clenching your butt or your inner thighs here. Take it again. And together, 2, pull it up, 2, hold 1 and 2, and release for 2. Now, today we get to layer on the third count of our zip up activation, which is navel drawing in. Now, it's not overly sucking the navel in so that your ribs flare. That's over aggressive. Right now, we want to be very gentle. You may feel a slight reduction of pressure between the circumference of your waist right below your ribs and the ab ribbon. That's great. If you don't feel it right away, just visualize it. I want you to visualize those points pulling away from the ab ribbon. Okay, and again, don't be discouraged if you can't feel it at first. It's your first day. Keep working on this until you have that proprioception. So we're going to go 1, lift, navel, and then release. Okay, so all 3 points, first 3 counts of our zip up activation. Here we go. and pull together, lift up, navel, hold 1 and 2 and release. 2 again, plus sign, pulse together. Lift up away from the chair, navel gently draws in, and everything releases for 2. And again, pull together all 4 points. Lift, navel, and release. Whew, quite a workout, I know. Now, count 4 is ribs. Now your ribs have already been settled back, but I want you to press the ribs back even just a little bit more. It doesn't need to be too aggressive, but I want you to feel an increase in pressure between the back of the rib cage and the wall behind you for count number 4. So let's practice that, and let's add a 2-second hold at the conclusion of count number 4 of your zip up activation. Here we go. Plus sign, pulse together. 1, 2, and a lift. 2, and navel. Ribs back. Hold 1 and a 2 and release. And when you do that 2-beat hold, reconnect to your pelvic floor, because it's normal that it will start, the pelvic floor will begin to release as we move up the chain. Don't be discouraged. Over time, you will be able to hold that pelvic floor contraction for longer as you increase endurance and awareness of the pelvic floor musculature. So let's take it again and pull together, lift up away from the chair, navel, ribs, hold 1 and 2, pelvic floor, and release. Okay, here we go. I know. Amazing, amazing workout. Just getting deep, getting deep. Now, the next count is 5, and it's simply shoulders back. You don't need to overly pinch the shoulder blades together. I just want you to think a gentle lift and a pressure behind the shoulders on count number 5. Let's take it, and then hold for 2 beats. Here we go. And plus sign, pulse together, pull up, elevator, navel, 2, ribs, 2, shoulders. Now everything holds, reconnect to the pelvic floor, and release. Let's take it again. Here we go. Plus sign, pulse together, 1 and 2, elevator up and 2, and navel and 2, ribs press back, 2, shoulders, hold 2 seconds, pelvic floor reconnects, everything releases. Now we add head. Head posture is so important in the zip up act. It's count number 6 in the first 4 weeks postnatal zip up activation, but you will understand that later in the HYPOXIX workouts, once you've completed your first year postnatally, the head is actually count number 5. But let's not get too much into that right now. Just focus on your first 4 weeks postnatally. We add an extra beat because I spend extra time focusing on that pelvic floor contraction, breaking it up into 2 parts for the first, those first weeks after giving birth. So count 6 is gently pressing the head back against the wall. It's like at a 45-degree angle. The chin is gently dropping as you press back, not shoving it back with too much force, but gently pressing back and feeling the contraction in the gentle contraction in the front of the neck, really strengthening those deep cervical neck flexors that help with posture and reducing tension in the neck when you're holding the baby. So let's practice, and let's hold for 2 seconds. Now that's our 6th count, zip up activation. That's the whole thing. So let's practice. Here we go. Start with the plus sign. Here we go. Plus sign, pulse together, 2, and lift the elevator, navel, pulls back, ribs press back, shoulders press back, head presses back, and hold for 2, and release for 2. Now I'm only going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for all 6 points. And just to review, it's 1, pelvic floor, and 2, it lifts. So 1 and 2 are pelvic floor. So remember that we have 2 strong beats focused on the pelvic floor. Count 3 is navel, count 4 is ribs, count 5 is shoulders, and count 6 is head. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reconnect to pelvic floor and release. Now we're going to add an exhalation. And the reason that we do this on an exhalation is because the pelvic floor works in tandem with the diaphragm. And as the diaphragm rises, as we exhale, the pelvic floor naturally rises in tandem, in parallel with that diaphragm. And so on a on a hiss sound. Our zip up activation will always be on a hiss. So now I want you to take an inhale. Just practice hissing for 6 seconds. 4, 5, 6. Inhale. Take it again. Don't even think about the musculature. Exhale. 1, 2. Now I'm going to cue your numbers through, but I want you to keep hissing. So take a big inhale through the nostrils. Hiss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, head 6. Inhale. Everything releases, and I want you to release that pelvic floor, and I want you to release the abdominal wall. I want you to release everything when you take the inhale, because remember, that release of the pelvic floor is just as important as the contraction of the pelvic floor, and I want you to be able to perform both before moving on to the next video, to the next level. So take an inhale, everything releases, and let's take it again. Hiss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, everything releases. Take it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep exhaling. 6. Reconnect to pelvic floor. Inhale one more time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. Let's take one more. I lied. One more. This is the last one. Hiss. 1, lift 2, navel 3, ribs 4, shoulders 5, head on 6, reconnect to pelvic floor, and everything releases. Now, when we perform the pelvic floor zip up activation in time, we're performing one of those beats on every second. So we're always working at a breath rate 60 beats per minute, working at about 6 breaths per minute. So we're slowing the breath down quite a bit. So I'm going to speed this up a tiny bit. And then in the next video, we're going to work this in tandem with our Nutri music, which is our music in which the breath is composed within the music, so that you can hear the hissing zip up activation and you can hear the entirety of the entire breath cycle, which we will review in the next video. So inhale, a little bit faster. Hiss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6. Inhale, release, and again, hiss. 1, 2, navel 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, one more time, I promise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, release. That's your zip up activation. You're finished, mama.